We all have goals. Maybe you set them for the new year, or maybe they're just dreams that you hope to accomplish one day. But 92% of people don't act on their goals and expect them to magically come true. Or maybe they're motivated for the first month of the year and then they give up. This is where discipline comes in. In this episode of Mind, Body, and Beyond, I'm going to teach you how you can become part of that 8% of people who actually accomplish their goals. Without further ado, let's dive right in. A famous technique to set clear goals is the SMART technique. SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So we're going to go through each of these criteria and provide an example for each one. S, specific. The goal needs to be clear and precise. For example, I want to reach 9 hours of sleep per night by the end of this month, instead of just, I want to get more sleep. M, measurable. The goal should have some type of measurable criteria to track progress. So maybe it's a number of times you do something, or a number of points you want your average grade to increase by. For instance, I will achieve this by going to bed 15 minutes earlier every night until I reach the time I want to be in bed by. A, achievable. Your goal needs to be realistic considering your time, abilities, and resources. For example, I will accomplish this by leaving my phone outside my room so I don't feel tempted to use it and waste time instead of sleeping. Instead of just, I will throw away my phone and never use it again, which is not very realistic. 4, relevance. The goal should be important to you and align with your objectives and interests. Example again, sleeping is important to me because I know how much it improves my cognitive functioning and overall health and happiness. And lastly, T for time-bound. The goal should have a deadline so you commit to finishing it at a certain time and don't procrastinate. For example, I want to reach 9 hours of sleep by the end of this month, so in X number of days. And you might be wondering, well, does this technique really work? How can you be sure that this is the best way to set goals? Well, as I said before, only 8% of people, and this is not just a random number, it's actually proven by a study done by scientists at Scranton University. Those 8% of people achieve their goals, but out of those who use the SMART technique, 90% achieve their goals. So by using this technique, you're about 11 times more likely to accomplish your dream. So that's how to set a goal, but how do you stick to it? Here are 7 tips to help you with that. Tip number 1. When you tell yourself you're going to do something every day for a year, you often have a surge of motivation in the beginning. This is going well, right? I'm going to finish this year and be the best version of myself. We all know this feeling. But then as time goes on, we lose motivation and the year starts to feel really long. As I said, 92% of people stop here. But for those who keep going, they know that towards the end of the year, you start to feel motivated again because you've done all this work. You know you can't stop there. The key here is to make those periods shorter so that the periods with less motivation in the middle also feel shorter. So instead of setting a year-long goal, you're going to set several week-long goals so that the middle part only lasts 2 to 3 days and is easier to overcome. Plan out your goal in a calendar or agenda so that you visually see it every day or however often you want to do it, and then stick to it. This way, the tasks seem more manageable and less overwhelming. Tip number 2, sticking to a goal requires discipline. To build this discipline, a good thing to incorporate into your schedule would be just a simple morning routine. I know you might be saying that you don't have enough time, but if you can just dedicate 5 minutes to take some time for a morning routine, that is better than none and it will help you develop discipline. This also sets a productive tone for the rest of the day. 3. Another way you can build on your discipline is to practice delaying gratification. As humans, we're naturally built to want instant gratification for a difficult action we accomplished. And this makes sense because in the past, when we had to forage for food, once we found a fruit and ate it, we got that instant gratification. But nowadays, we often have to work to achieve a long-term goal, and this can be difficult because we're not immediately seeing the results of our efforts. For example, if you study a bit every day after school, it might take a couple weeks until you get that exam, and then a couple more until you receive the results. A few examples of intentionally delaying gratification are waiting a couple minutes before impulsively eating sweets, or finishing your work before you watch a video. It might not seem like much, but it will greatly help your discipline. Tip number 4. You can try pairing a fun task with a less fun task. This way you'll feel motivated to do an unenjoyable task because you can also then do something that you enjoy. For example, when I clean up my room, I always put some music on that makes cleaning my room seem fun and enjoyable. If you want to go even further with this, you can tell yourself that you can only do that fun task when you're doing that less fun task at the same time. For instance, you can only watch that show that you enjoy when you're doing the dishes, or something similar. Alright, tip number 5. Tracking progress is also really important. Seeing it visually in a journal or an app can motivate you, especially if it's a long-term goal. That is also why it's so important for your goal to be measurable, as we stated in the SMART criteria. It's important not just to see all the work you have to do in front of you, but also to acknowledge how far you've come. 6. Reward yourself. Doing something consistently can be hard, especially if it's for a long period of time, so don't be too harsh on yourself. Stay patient and reward yourself after a certain amount of time to keep you on track. As I said before, humans are used to quick gratification, so if you can see, in a way, the results of your work, you're more likely to keep going. And last tip, focus on your final goal. Visualize it. Don't forget why you're doing this. Your goal shouldn't be something you do out of obligation. Again, tying into the relevant part of the SMART technique. The final goal should bring you joy and satisfaction. So when you're doing the difficult part, which might be waking up early or studying harder or anything challenging, never lose sight of the end result. So do you now want to be part of that 8% of people who accomplish their goals? Now that you know the information, it's up to you to take action. Thank you for listening to Mind, Body, and Beyond, and I'll see you in the next one.